I want to welcome each of you here tonight. I'm so happy you're here. I'm thankful that have come here just like you are, wherever you are. Now, many of you may know somebody that is in recovery. You may know somebody that needs to be in recovery. You may yourself be on that one person at this moment in time that goes, I'm so tired of living the way that I've lived. I think I've heard about this recovery and I think I want to check it out. But when people say recovery, most of us think a couple of things. We immediately think alcohol and drugs, and it is that, but it's so much more. The addictive behaviors that we all do are merely, I want to tell you tonight that that's merely a symptom of what has happened back in our life. Because we're using the things that have happened in our life, the hurt, the guilt, the shame, and we're using something to try to run away from that. We don't want that pain anymore. It's really hard. But I want to tell you that recovery, have you heard the name, the journey of recovery? Well, it is. It's a journey. But it's an individual journey. You have to be ready. And you have to come to that, to where you are. Now, those of us who've been around recovery programs for any length of time at all, you hear some slogans, you hear some things. You'll hear in recovery that it's one day at a time. Let me tell you, friends, it may be that for you, but for me, it's one moment at a time. If I can just get through this moment to the next moment, I think that's what I have to do. But ultimately, our recovery is something we have to do on our own. Now, that doesn't say, that I want you to hear me now, that doesn't mean that you're solely going to do it by yourself, because recovery was never meant to be done alone. You're going to have those walking with you. I've tried time and time again to do things on my own. And every time I did, it was like I was in control of everything. And when I'm in control of things and thinking I'm in control of things, it's like the train goes off the tracks for me. That's when I mess up the most. It wasn't until the time that I realized I couldn't do it, that I realized that my life was out of control and I needed help. And I needed a power that was so much greater than me. And at that point, I realized what, for me, that power was. I hear a lot in recovery about the higher power, but I had to come to identify what that higher power was for me. And for me, it was God. It was Jesus Christ. See, what happened with me, it wasn't so much about the addiction, because when I cut through every part of it, what I had going on inside of me was sin. And I had to get rid of that. I was really blind to the real problems that I was facing. Addiction wasn't necessarily it. It was a symptom of the sin. It was a symptom of what was going on in my life or had happened in my life that had hurt me. A trauma at some point. For me, it was in my childhood. And I didn't want to go back to that because it hurt so badly. So I did everything in my power to try to build a wall and to run away from that kind of thing. See, the enemy, Satan, the world, the darkness, it wants to destroy us. And it gets us to the point where we think we're not worthy, where we can't change. We're always going to be identifying as an addict, as this or that, and that becomes our identity. And that's not what my God decided our identity was, because we were created in His image. When I stopped and stood back and looked at that, if I was created in God's image, I certainly wouldn't be doing the things that I'm doing now and have been doing. We have to make choices in our life. And I've made some terrible choices. But now, as I started to change, as I got to a point where I said, enough. I don't want to live like this anymore. I decided to make a change. And that change for me was I was going to look to Jesus for help. I was going to get addicted again, but addicted to Him. Instead of things that would hurt me, I was going to move toward things that would help me, that would change me, that would make me a better person. So many of us, as we come to a recovery program of any type, many of us have been hurt. We've been hurt by the church before because of maybe a judgmental attitude of some. That's why at the outset I said, thank you for coming just as you are. We're happy you're here. We want you to continue to come. We want you to come to a place and feel safe at this place where there are people who are going to love you, who are going to lift you up when everybody else has been trying to knock you down. Instead of when you're down and they're kicking you, we're giving you a hand to lift you up. But we're also doing that in a way that sometimes we have to be held accountable for our actions. But there's a way to do that too. There's a way to do that with love in a Christ-like manner. So I would ask you a question. Do you have a relationship with Jesus? Do you know this person? My job is to plant the seed. It's not my job to win you over. That's somebody who's got power higher than me that can do that. It's my job because I've been commanded to tell you about that. I would hope that you will be able to discover that relationship with Jesus on your own, with help from one another. And I would encourage you to not only hear the words, and I know you won't just listen to the words, because a lot of people tell you words, but I would encourage you to watch people. See if they example that walk of Jesus. See if they act out a Christ-like manner. That's really important. Remember that recovery and life are both journeys. It's not going to be immediate. I wish it was. There are some people that it happens. Recovery happens in an instant. Well, my God can do that. It can be miraculous. But for most of us, it didn't happen overnight, instantaneous. Wouldn't it be great if we could just walk over and flip the light switch and suddenly we were healed and we were different than we've been and we didn't hurt anymore and we didn't feel guilt and shame anymore? We weren't sick from withdrawal anymore. We didn't wake up and our eyes open up and think, where do I get my next fix? But yet our eyes woke up and said, what can I do to help somebody else today? Won't this be a great day? Remember, it's not a journey that needs to be done alone. We all need each other. We need to help each other. And all here are welcomed. No matter where you are in your walk, no matter if you've even started your walk, you are welcome here. We want you to come just as you are. My higher power, Jesus, welcomes all of us. And He welcomes you too. So until next time, I want you to understand something. I love you, but God loves you so much more.